who has been with SOL from the start and initially as an intern, then a paralegal, and now as a trainee who will qualify in December 2022. She assists with undertaking legal research, compiling first drafts of documents, attending client conferences, analyzing documentation, assistance in preparing court documents, bundles, exhibits, liaising with external parties, and business development. She undertakes fees in litigation in employment law, private client, and corporate law. Without any delay, I would like to welcome Saher Khan. And over to you, ma'am.
Mute. Hi, Indra. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. I hope you all are well. My name is Saher Khan, and I am a trainee solicitor at Sol International. We are a dispute resolution law firm based in the UAE. Today, I'm going to speak to you about how COVID has impacted children's mental health during the pandemic and what we as adults can do about this. Among the many harmful and lasting impacts of the pandemic, its adverse effects on mental health of children and young people is likely to be one of the most significant. During the early days of the pandemic, we were more concerned about the well-being of older populations, not just because they were more vulnerable to the infection, but also because they were more likely to be affected by loneliness and isolation from the lockdown and social distancing policies. 2 years on, it is clear now that young people have faced the worst hit as far as mental health is concerned. In a number of surveys carried out, the younger groups have reported the worst mental health, in particularly mood and anxiety symptoms. More than 330 million youngsters were stuck at home for an extended period of time since the virus spread 2 years ago. And even now, a number of children are still studying from home. It has become difficult for parents to calm their children's anxieties because of the uncertainty and stress in their own lives. Parents are facing their own set of occupational or emotional challenges, which interferes with their usual ability to address their children's needs and worries. When will the school reopen? When can they go out and play? When can they visit their favorite places? Questions like these affect children and they worry them a lot. It is normal for children to experience negative emotions such as fear, disappointment, sadness, anxiety, anger, loss, but the prolonged and restrictive nature of the pandemic that has intensified the situation. Children have now increased screen time, strained family relations, and a sedentary lifestyle at home, which pose additional challenges. During the prolonged confinement at home, children's increased use of internet and social media predispose them to use the internet compulsively, as addressed by my colleague Shweta earlier, and access content not meant for them and also increase the risk of getting bullied or abused. Worst of all, during the lockdown, when schools and preventative services were fully not functioning, children were rarely in a position to report violence, abuse, and harm, even if they were in abusive homes themselves. There's also evidence to say that girls and boys have been impacted differently, not only in terms of access to online platforms and educational resources, but also in sharing the burden of household work. Girls have had a tougher time because of increased incidents of gender-based violence and burden of care that is placed on girls than compared to boys. Usually, a home represents a source of security and safety in most families. However, for the poor and underprivileged, it is the opposite. With the restriction of movement due to the lockdown, these children have increased risk of being exploited and become victims of violence and abuse. The underprivileged children face acute deprivation of nutrition and overall protection. The prolonged period of stress could have a long-term negative impact on their development. In India, with the world's largest child population, with 472 million children, the lockdown impacted 40 million children from poor families. This included children working on farms, fields in rural areas, children of migrants, and street children. An increasing number of poor and street children now have no source of income, making them high-risk population to face abuse and mental health issues with greater vulnerability and exposed to unfavorable economic, social, and environmental circumstances. During the time of lockdown, an increasing number of poor families had no source of daily wages, which led to frustration and feelings of helplessness. By the reason of displacement, the frustration and family conflict may manifest itself in the form of violence towards children. This can make the children more vulnerable to depression, anxiety, and suicide. School closure coupled with economic adversity forced the children and adolescents into child labor. The second thing is social distancing policies and the abrupt closure of educational institutions had major impact on the children and teens. When all schools were closed nearly 2 years ago, no government made adequate plans to manage the essential functions from learning to providing nutrition and from sports and play to interaction with peers, and these are all crucial for well-being. Even after acknowledging the results and negative effects, the solution was to shift to online learning. Despite the fact that majority of India's children and teachers, in particularly those already disadvantaged due to poverty or poor quality of schooling, they had no access to internet or even devices to access online learning. The ability of children to interact with their peers also had been massively disrupted. The result of 2 years of loss in learning for an entire generation with effects on mental health and the existing disparities of class as amplified. I'm going to share a personal example with you. My younger sister, she's 13 now. She is in 9th grade and she was subjected to online learning 2 years back. And literally at home, we can now see how this has impacted her and has stunted her growth and not meeting her classmates, not being able to go out with her friends and being stuck at home. And now all she does is sit on her phone all the time and sit on her iPad and just watch her TikTok, scroll through Instagram instead of doing anything substantial or anything that could be expected from a 13-year-old compared to when we were 13. Now that we have an understanding of this, we need to see how we can help children cope in this difficult situation. The first step is to overcome the stigma surrounding mental health. This can only be done by reading and educating yourself in order that you can give it forward to the next generation. Being a parent is a daily challenge regardless, but faced with the realities of the pandemic, social distancing and self-quarantine, it may be a bigger struggle. For parents, the best way to help their child is to first take care of themselves. Self-care during this time is not selfish because it enables the parents to be there for their children as a stable, calm, and soothing presence. This way, parents will also be able to better understand their child and help them feel reassured, relaxed, and focused. If you as a parent are focused and you know what's right and what's wrong, and you are not stressed out, that's the only way you can go forward and help your children. It is important to be calm and proactive in your conversation with children. Check with them to see how they're doing. The emotions will change regularly and you need to show them that's okay. If they're upset, if they're sad about something, it's okay. You need to tell them it's okay, it's fine, it happens, it's an emotion, you feel it, and then understand it. Whether at school or at home, you can engage children in creative activities, such as playing and drawing, to help them express and communicate any negative feelings that they may experience in a safe and supportive environment. This helps children find positive ways to express difficult feelings such as anger, fear, and sadness. Engaging your children in activities such as sports, even at home, that helps the child to overcome and understand what's going on with them. Children are constantly exposed to information regarding the pandemic in newspapers, TVs, social media. They may understandably have realistic and exaggerated fears in respect of this. They must be provided clear information regarding the pandemic in age-appropriate language. The aim is to reassure them and reduce exaggerated threat perception. Children who wish to have access to information may be encouraged to look at reliable websites and information. If your child's asking too many questions, you don't need to tell them everything, but if you know your child is sensitive, but you need to give them enough information that it calms them down. Answer your children's query, but figure out a way of striking a balance. Too much information can also cause panic and severe anxiety in children. You need to take the cues from your child. You need to understand what the child is saying. Children are observant. They soak what's around them and they take the cues from adults in their lives. In these situations, parents can lead by example on how to cope with stress and openly discuss concerns about the pandemic. Parents, family members, and teachers also play a very important role to help children make sense of what they see and hear about the pandemic in an honest way and reduce children's anxiety or fear. So at home, we should create a safe space to have open and reassuring conversations with kids so they understand what is actually happening around them. Make sure that children are not excessively exposed to pandemic-related information. You need to limit their media exposure, especially if there's fear-mongering or exposure to alarming content. If the child hears or sees something upsetting, you need to put it in context for them. Avoid discussing the topic frequently in front of children. You need to answer questions also honestly. You shouldn't dismiss their worries. You don't need to make false promises to them. You don't need to say, what is there to worry, or nothing's going to happen. And you need to talk about what will happen if someone in the family should fall ill. You need to have realistic conversations with them, and only that's going to help them out and not just ignoring what they're trying to feel or say. You need to figure out also a new routine in the household and around your child. This should include your schoolwork, the chores, plays, interaction with peers and relatives over the phone or using any other forms of technology like Zoom and Teams. You need to have set set times for meals and bedtime. It would be good to also have like indoor exercise as part of this routine. For instance, yoga and stretches, skipping, and this must this should be made with the child's consent, and you should talk to the child about what they would be interested in doing. You shouldn't be imposing this unilaterally on them, because this will also affect their mental health. You need to see what they would be interested in doing. If one day they want to stretch and the other day they want to skip and just run around in the house, you should give them that opportunity to share what they feel. You need to model calmness to the extent possible. You are their anxiety barometer. You don't need to transfer your anxiety to your children. If you're suffering from any emotional issues, you need to get help for that on your own first, and then try to help your child. You need to watch if your child constantly seeks reassurances from you, as this is a sign of distress in children. If there's significant distress, consider an evaluation by a mental health professional. Parents have to be aware of what the normative development changes that occur during teens. Teens will have better understanding of the pandemic, and they understand it better than a child would. Parents should engage in an open and honest, non-judgmental communication with their teens, rather than having assumptions like you don't know anything and you will have to learn everything from your parents. Because nowadays, teens have access to all the media outlets that are available. They understand things much more than parents do sometimes. And having a conversation with them will not only help them, but will also help you understand where your child is coming from. Coping and problem-solving skills of teens are better developed as compared to children. Teachers and school counselors also play an important role in the lives of children. During these times, when most schools and colleges are organizing online activities, teachers are in regular touch with their students, sometimes much more than parents are. And therefore, they are in a position to play an important role in the promotion of the psychological well-being among youngsters. Teachers can devote some time related to educating about the pandemic and preventative health behavior by using guidelines used by international organizations such as UNICEF, according to how mature the child is. They can explain to the student about the need to act with responsibility during the current pandemic. They can model and enact through this behavior the preventative measures. They can also conduct a creative online academic and non-academic sessions by making their class more interactive, engaging in the form of quizzes and puzzles and small competitions, and giving them more creative home assignments to break the monotony of online classes. Standard educational material can be used. Again, as an example, when my sister was little, she was having online learning. She used to just sit in front of the screen all day and just stare at it, which is really ridiculous compared to teachers can get their engage in quizzes and puzzles and competitions. It will help them break the monotony of what's going on every single day in just a laptop screen. Teachers have a role to play in the promotion of mental health among what is well-being and how it is important for students. They can assist in teaching simple exercising, including deep breathing, muscle relaxation, distraction, and positive self-talk. Virtual workshops can be conducted in which life skills related to coping and stress can be in focus by using more practical examples. If teachers can assist students with skills such as deep breathing and positive self-talk, it really helps the students as coming from someone other than your parent. And everyone knows if like a child listens to something from their parents, they listen to it, but if someone else says it, it makes a bigger impact. Teachers can also make children understand the importance of pro-social behavior and the importance of human virtues like empathy and patience. This can help them understand their role in the society and understand how social distancing doesn't mean emotional distancing. They can still have the same emotional connection with their friends and with their parents and with everyone, and that doesn't change just because of social distancing. Teachers need to interact with parents online through a phone call regarding feedback about their students and their mental health. Because of the digital divide and that they can call parents now, they can make contact available to parents and devote a time slot when they'll be available to talk to the parents. This will help the parents also understand where the position their child is, and the teacher understand how better than assist the student develop by listening to the parents' point of view. They can serve as a doorway for identification and referral to specialty mental health providers. The role of teachers is to act as a catalyst between the parent based on their interaction with students and finding of steering tools. If they observe any problems in the child, they can talk to parents and refer the child or the teen to mental health professionals. With the support of school authorities, teachers need to make arrangements to ensure that reading material related to school and life skills is made available to the underprivileged children who do not have access to the internet. If possible, arrangements should also be made for these students to use the internet. Unattended mental health problems can disrupt children's functioning at home, school, and in the community. Parents and teachers should get equipped to detect and deal with early signs of mental health problems amongst children as they're the first to notice any changes in a child's emotions and behavior. Children and adolescents should also be encouraged to talk about their feelings and reach out to a trusted friend or a family member. And remember, early intervention can prevent long-term mental health consequences from this COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you, United Council of India and Vimal and Indra for giving me this platform to share my thoughts on child safety, and I really hope it helps.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much. So that was really insightful when you spoke about mental health and poor as well. So I should say that this also implies for the poor, and we could see just another different phase of parenting you just spoke, and the self-care which you told is absolutely true, and we all should agree on it. And then something for the voiceless is something precious, according to me. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Indra. I really appreciate it.